Hello and welcome to the Poverty Franchise Podcast. Today, my name is PJ. Sorry for that camera interruption. And we're here to talk about the NFC. Oh my god, NFC. Oh shit. This is going to be a long video. I'm not even drunk yet. I'm only drinking one White Claw. Also, White Claw Black Cherry, unofficial sponsor of the video. I like my static water. TV static water, that is. But we're going to talk about the NFL Conference Championships, the NFC and AFC Championships. We have 2 weeks till Super Bowl weekend. Discuss the games. Maybe offer yet another shit prediction on the Super Bowl because boy was I wrong about these games. Boy was I wrong. I was as wrong as can be. And just looking right ahead at it, starting with the more boring of the two games, the first game of the day of Sunday, it was the Eagles versus the 49ers. The Eagles trounced the 49ers. Brock Purdy tears his UCL, which is a common injury you see in pitchers a lot. He's probably going to need Tommy John. The thing is, the recovery is a lot less time. It's only maybe about 6 months, so he'll be good by training camp, by July, and he'll probably win that starting job. It's just a real bummer seeing Josh Johnson go out there, bum around, It's just a team that suffers 3 starting quarterback injuries just is not. There's no redundancy for that. You can't have 4 guys on your team who can execute your offense at the quarterback position on any given roster, counting the practice squads. It's impossible. It's an impossible possibility. It's a miracle it worked at 3. Because most of the time, you only have redundancy enough for 1 guy. When you get to your 3rd string, shit is lost. And Brock Purdy proved it wasn't lost. And I hope he's not like a one-season wonder. I look forward to him and Trey Lance competing for the starting job next year since Jimmy G probably won't be there. He may not, who knows. But the Eagles trounced them. The Eagles defense looked phenomenal. The player that stood out to me, I don't want to get his name wrong. Yeah, Hassan Reddick was just out there blowing shit up. Just all over the place. But as a unit, they just look dominant. Just dominant. But again, and the Niners defense, it looks bad on paper. But when you really dive into it, they were just quick 3 and outs. The game was a contest until Brock Purdy got hurt in the end of the first half. And after that, it was just kind of going through the motions at that point. You can't really knock the Niners season. And next year, bar injuries, they should be back. I mean, that your most interesting storyline with the Niners is what to do with Trey Lance, your quarterbacks. What to do with Trey Lance, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy. I think Jimmy G is the clear man out. His age and his cost definitely write him off. And his lack of high elevated talent, we should say. Trey Lance is an unproven commodity. I mean, towards ACL week 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot when Trey Lance tore his ACL this year. It's been a long time since I talked about that. But all he had really proven was that he can lose. Yeah, it was week 2. So I mean, all he really did was lose to the Chicago Bears, which were the worst team in football. So that says a lot. However, he's still young. He's only going to be in his 3rd year. Brock Purdy will only be in his 2nd. So we'll see. I can envision one of them winning the starting job. I can envision their leashes, respectfully, are going to both be very short. Moving on to the much more interesting game of the day, the AFC Championship. The Chiefs edge one out at home in Arrowhead, 23-20 against the Bengals. The refs, the officiating was god-awful throughout the game. Probably make an argument that the Bengals were, in fact, robbed, at least a tinge. But if the game is left close enough that the refs decide it, 99.9% of the time, you could have changed that outcome so the refs didn't decide the game for you in that aspect. At least that's an old head saying I've heard. So you can always complain about the officiating. It should be good. There should be more accountability. That all that's true. But if you leave the game up to the refs, you failed in executing your game plan. And the competition was too stiff for you to overcome that way. Again, a vast majority of the time. Just sometimes you like, let's say, I don't know. An example would be like, I don't know, a block, like a basketball shot goes in, and they just wave off the basket for whatever reason, or like just blatant shit. But like that's like obvious match fixing nonsense. The game itself was really good. I think the roughing the passer call probably does him in, even though it's roughing the passer, you know. Joe Burrow does not have the world's greatest game. 1 TD, 2 interceptions, 26 of 41, 270. They kept Joe Mixon in check, but also the Bengals kept the Chiefs' running game in check. So neither team could really rush the ball. Both Sam J. Perrin and Joe Mixon didn't really rush for much. McCole Hardman and Isaiah Panchero and Jared McKinnon also didn't really rush for much. It was just a defensive football game, and the Chiefs' offense was able to edge it out. And honestly, I think part of it has to come down to the fact that the Bengals were talking all this bluster during the week. You know, the mayor calling it Burrowhead. And I thought the Bengals could maybe do it, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. At the end of the day, he's probably going to get another MVP this year. And again, this is another great year from the Bengals with nothing to show for it. Now we come to our penultimate matchup. Also, it's the fact that the Bengals O-line was injured to fucking hell, and Chris James, Frank Clark, Kalafdis all fucking feasted all night long. The injuries caught up with them, and now the matchup for the Super Bowl 2 weeks from now. It'll be the Chiefs versus the Eagles. Lord, please, God, let the Chiefs win, only because I don't think America can handle it. Twitter will be the greatest place on earth if Philadelphia wins that Super Bowl, because it'd just be anarchy, and it'll be great to watch from afar. But I think I'd rather the Chiefs win the game, and I think the Chiefs have the edge offensively with Patrick Mahomes there. But I think the Eagles have a more well-rounded defense. I think the Chiefs have weaknesses in their defensive backfield. They don't got guys back there like Darius Slay. You know, you just don't. You don't have tier 1 guys back there in your defensive backfield. You don't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You don't have James Bradbury. You know, you don't got these, and you don't have the depth of the team either. I mean, this team has, like, you're talking about dudes like Kayvon Wallace, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Ndamukong Suh, like the Jordan Davis, Josh. This team is fucking deep. These are starters on a lot of football teams, man. Like, they traded for some of these guys, and they're backups on this fucking team. So their defense can just go all night long. You cannot wear them down like that. I just don't think that the Chiefs' defense has that depth that the Eagles' defense does. I'd say the offense, it's really just carried by Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Those are your two biggest difference makers on the offense, and that is really it. That is what it comes down to at the end of the day for the offense. The lines are about, I'd say I give the edge to the Eagles, if only slightly. And the Eagles do have the better run game on paper, right? With Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott, the three-headed monster they got there. If the Chiefs can't stop them from running all up and down them, but they stopped Perrine and Joe Mixon and Perrine this week. So there's a possibility they could stop the run, force Jalen Hurts to really pass the ball and work the ball down the field. And also going to have to stop Jalen Hurts because he is also a rushing threat as well. So the Eagles seem to be the better team on paper. The two things I really go against is I don't think Nick Sirianni is as good of a coach as Eagles fans and some people believe to be. I think he's kind of cocky. He's kind of hot-headed. His game plans are great. He's obviously coached Jalen Hurts, and they've developed Jalen Hurts. Great developer of talent. Great user of talent. Great user of depth, valuing depth. Like, these are all great coaching traits, but in terms of X's and O's, I truly believe Andy Reid is a class above him. I truly believe Kyle Shanahan was a class above Nick Sirianni in terms of a coach. Kyle Shanahan just caught the the injury bug. And at the end of the day, coaching does matter. And I think Andy Reid, he's been here before. He's been here he's been through every surmountable place in NFL lore. He's lost conference titles for the Eagles. He's lost Super Bowls with the Eagles and Chiefs. He's won a Super Bowl. Like, he's been there. He's done that. He knows what it takes. He knows how lucky he is to have been to this many pivot, like just have that many chances at it alone, right? Just to get to the dance that many times is an accomplishment in itself. So he knows that, and he's going to bring that, he's going to share that to his team, his players. And it's little, when you're splitting hairs, you go to little shit like that. And the Eagles have better talent, position by position, in most positions on the team. They just fucking do. But I truly think the Chiefs just have something. And I don't know quite what it is. I just know it's something, right? It's something. And that something, I think, will give the Chiefs the Super Bowl. Give Patrick Mahomes a second, Andy Reid a second. I think they'll do it. I've been wrong every fucking week, so I may have just cursed the Chiefs to get blown out on national television and Philadelphia to burn down, for all I fucking care. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the bold prediction, and that is, it is what it is. And then before I get off, I just want to make sure. 2 coaching hires have happened. The Broncos win the Sean Payton lottery, which is really good for the Broncos. I think that's exactly what that team needs. The defense is ready-made. You know, if they add to the depth, are able to work the salary cap, don't have too many losses, add to your, your interior line, maybe add another linebacker, add another defensive back if you can. Defense is ready to rock and roll, baby. Ready to fucking rock and roll over there. If Sean Payton can get that offense humming at an average level, they will be a Super Bowl contender. That's all he has to do. And I think he's the right man to do because he's an actual leader of men. And back to the same shit. He's been there. He's done that. He's been to the highest of highs and the lowest of lows of NFL lore, right? Nigga's been suspended for a year for controversy. He's won the Super Bowl. He's been there. He's been on the opposite end of one of those 0.01% times of when the refs clearly fucked him. Been there, done that. And the Texans hired DeMeco Ryans to replace Lovie Smith. Former player, former Texan, played with J.J. Watt, linebacker for the team for 5 seasons. Was the Niners defensive coordinator this year. Niners defense was great. I think this is a good hire. I'm really curious to see who their offensive staff's going to be, mainly because they're going to be bringing in either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, or for some godforsaken reason, Will Levis. We're not going to talk about the draft quite yet. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And the last coaching thing is only because of the Chicago connection is Vic Fangio gets hired. I think he got hired by the because right now he's actually working with the Eagles as like a consultant. And I heard word come out that he was signed by the Dolphins.
What's it like? Always knowing the truth.
Sorry about that. That was a defensive coordinator. I apologize. It hasn't been really confirmed yet. The only reason I'm talking about this is because that would help elevate the Dolphins to another level. And really, the only other coaching vacancy really left is the Cardinals. And of your staff left, because Frank Reich is out in Carolina, which I think is also a good hire for them. I think Frank Reich with a young quarterback, again, if they give him an offensive line, they could cook some out there. I really do, especially in that division that's going to be newly weakened. But right now, the only real job left is the Cardinals' head coaching position. Again, Eric Bieniemy is still in there. They may go the defensive coordinator route. There's talks of them. Bengals coordinator, as I'm just reading, Lou Arumo and Anarumo, which, again, Cardinals, one of their biggest problems was their defense, and that's a good unit, and I've heard nothing bad about him. But Brian Flores is actually still there. You have a guy who was kind of fucked out of a head coaching job, and I mean, sure, Coach McDaniels is really good coach. I think he's a fine coach. It actually really worked out. But he's kind of fucked out of his job, did some mudslinging, and whatever that controversy was the owner of the Dolphins fixing it. It is what it is at this point. But I think would be a fine candidate for the job, too, because he's proven he can take shit talent and make diamonds out of it. And the Cardinals don't have just straight-up shit talent. But you're also going to be you're going to be losing your number one receiver, because DeAndre Hopkins might as well be fucking write him off, because the round of trade rumors and shit, I've seen how displeased he looks. I think he's gone from the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are kind of a dumpster fire right now. Kyler Murray's going to be hurt. It's going to take a little longer than expected to come back. It's not looking too good. But that'll do it for this episode of the NFL Poverty Franchise Podcast Roundup. I'll probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, transfer deadline video. Just go over the ones that caught my eye. Hopefully this week. And future videos coming soon. Next week I'll probably do an NBA video. Probably won't do a football video because I'm not going to talk about the Pro Bowlers. I'm sure just do a sports roundup just to keep the content coming. Because I like doing this. I like talking to this camera, talking to you guys. I like it. I enjoy talking about sports. I enjoy shooting the shit. Have a good rest of y'all's nights. Good night. Stay safe. Good luck. It's been the Poverty Franchise Podcast with PJ signing off.